Welcome to the Cheltenham Festival web preview of the handicaps. I'm here in the studio with Paul Jones, author of the Cheltenham Festival betting guide and our statsman on attheraces.com. The race to focus on now is the Coral Cup on the second day on Wednesday. 2 mile, 5 furlong the trip, a notoriously difficult punter puzzle. Difficult to draw many hard and fast conclusions from the stats, but that's why we've got Paul Jones here. Well, Pretty Swires heading the market at 10 to 1, and as you'd expect, several of these horses entered elsewhere as well. Activial at 12 for Harry Fry. Quick Jack, who's also multiply entered, 12 to 1. Regal Encore, 12 to 1 as well. T for 2, Call the Cops, Unique Ducot, all at 16 to 1. What are the stats telling us for this race, Paul?
Well, the Irish have got a good record down the years. They've got a 1 in 3 strike rate since this was a first run. The last 2 winners, actually, were the highest rated winners going into the race. When Medina's were around, I think he won 148. The previous highest rating was a little bit lower than that. And then last year, Whisper went one step up and won 153. So the classy horses have come to the fore in the last couple of years. But I do think you want to keep still the young progressive horses on your side. 8 of the last 10 winners were second season hurdlers.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that now. I mean, we've got those 3 stats to go on. That said, Whisper winning last year, carrying 11 stone 6, was one that definitely belied the stats.
Yes, he certainly did, but you know, he did fit the second season hurdler stat, and there's quite a lot of those towards the head of the market. Activial, for example, is a horse I'm pretty keen on in this race, trained by Harry Fry. He missed the Triumph last year, where I think he would have been a leading fancy, and went to Liverpool instead. But big horse, he's always going to be better as a 5-year-old than a 4-year-old, and he's placed in 2 of the significant guides for this race so far this season, in the Ladbroke Hurdle at Ascot and then the Betfair Hurdle at Newbury, and I just think he's crying out for this step up in trip. And there's been a number of winners who've won the Coral Cup stepping up from 2 miles to 2.5 miles.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Activial as well for Harry Fry. As Paul said, 2 really good runs, and he's gone up £6, but he just looks the type of horse that over this trip there's so much more to come from
Absolutely,
him. No question marks on the ground either for you?
I think he's a big horse, but I think he'd prefer decent ground, good mover. Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about the ground particularly.
OK, well, let's focus on the Irish horses now, because, as Paul mentioned, they do have a very good record in this, and Abyssal is one such horse for Willie Mullins, a horse that we do know likes good ground because he's won at Punchestown here, beating Kitten Rock this day. Yeah,
this is a good horse. He might be good enough that they want to run him in the World Hurdle instead, though, but I was really misses him winning the Grade 1 at Punchestown last season. You know, very impressive this day. Look at the size of him. But will he run or not? He's actually rated £6 higher in Britain than in Ireland, and apparently he was the horse that when the British and the Irish handicappers got together and had their chinwag about what horse is going to be rated what, this was the one they disagreed about with most, and may mean that connections are going to run him in the World Hurdle instead. But if he runs here, even off a higher mark than he's in Ireland, I think he's got a lot of upside, and he'd be on my shortlist if he ran here.
And the way he ran, I know he fell last time in the Red Mills, but he was travelling so well.
It was just the way he travelled throughout the whole race,
yeah.
And I think Kitten Rock isn't without a chance in the Champion Hurdle, and he was upsides him, arguably travelling maybe even better 2 out when he fell on that occasion. So Abyssal, yeah, if he ran in the World Hurdle, it'd be a sneaky outsider, even though 5-year-olds have got a bad record in the race, though this is a moderate World Hurdle. But I'd like to see him run here, I must admit, even if he is £6 higher in Britain than Ireland.
OK, so fingers crossed we get to see him. If he doesn't run, Willie Mullins might well be represented by Una 2, who we can also look at, another high-class horse, having won a Grade 1 already at Punchestown, a novice hurdle, back on the 26th of April. Yeah,
he's also got the entry in the Martin Pipe, but I think the owners have got a couple of others very interesting for that race, Roi de Franck and McKinley. So it's a chance, I think, Una 2 could run here, and he's rated 145. Now, when you consider that he finished 4th in a red-hot Supreme Novices Hurdle, in which Champagne Fever beat My Tent or Yours at Anjeski, and he was 4th, and this is him on his next start, coming back just to beat Ubak, I think it was, there at Punchestown, and then he had a season off through injury, and he's had a couple of novice chases. It hasn't really worked out for him. If he drops back to hurdles, 145 is low, considering what the horses in that Supreme field have done.
OK, now there's several horses in the head of affairs in the market which could go for other targets, so let's just quickly whip through them. The unknown Enigma is a Petit Soin. He still heads this market at 10 to 1. We don't know much about him. He's had the 3 runs over in France, but presumably he might go for the county instead.
I think they're going for this. That's certainly the vibe on the Cheltenham Festival preview evening circuit, and Nick Schofield was saying, you know, he was working with Grade 1 horses. That's how highly they rate him, and he's running off 139 here. He's had the 3 starts in France, over 2 miles, 1.5 furlongs, so he's a potential improver for moving up in trip. He won 2 of those. He's owned by John Hales. He hasn't run since September the 11th, though. That would be my biggest sticking point. Paul Nicholls has had a couple of horses run in the Fred Winter on their British debut. Both of them were well fancied. One of them was well beaten. The other one finished second. And so he's trying a similar thing here in the Coral Cup. And
of course the unknown on the ground when you've been running around in France on very testing conditions.
Yeah, precisely.
OK, Quick Jack then, will he run here or will he go for the county?
I think they're looking at the county hurdle with him. Very interesting horse wherever he lines up. Galway hurdle winner. Been off the track for quite a while over hurdles. Yeah, you get the feeling they've got the county in mind for him. OK,
of those that hopefully we will see in this, something like Baradari could be interesting for Venetia Williams.
Yeah, I mean, I had him in mind for the Pertemps final, but they didn't qualify him for that. So this is his only handicap entry, and he really appreciated the step up from 2 miles to 3.5 when he went at Ascot on soft ground. And he's just a typical tough horse. Venetia in handicaps, staying handicaps at Cheltenham as well, very much interests me. And Baradari's got the right kind of profile for the race. Second season novice as well.
OK, well, let's have a final look at the betting then and see if there's any others you want to flag up, Paul, before we pin you down for a selection at this stage. Again, there's several in here, isn't there, that we might be seeing elsewhere, the likes of Call the Cops. I mean, are there any trainers to focus on in this one in particular? I mean, unique to Cots in there for the pipe?
Not especially. I mean, Nicky Henderson doesn't have... Well, he didn't have that great a record until recently, but I think Call the Cops is going to go for the Pertemps final. Unique to Cot looks like he might go Martin, Pipe, Calypso, County Hurdle. Bayan, I think, is going to France. Brother Brian, I think he's going to the Pertemps. And the novice Arbor V, we don't know. So, no, I'm quite happy with... if I had to go 2 against the field here, at the moment it would be Activial and Unatu, but I'd respect Abyssial if he runs here.
OK, Activial and Unatu for the Coral Cup here with Paul Jones on the Cheltenham Web Preview.